we stand tall. Words of blades that never fall, debated warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. In the ring we stand tall. Words of blades that never fall, debate like warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean, spirited mind sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night, join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance in this arena. There's no chance to escape the fight by lore. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance in this arena. There's no chance to escape the fight by lore. Dive in deep and search for more. In the ring we stand tall. Words are blades that never fall. Debate like warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean. Spirited minds sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night, join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance. In this arena there's no chance to escape the vibrant lore. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Be heard. Will be heard. Will be heard. Will be heard.
Spartans! What is your profession? This is Sparta!
What is going on, everybody? We're back at it with another show, another live, another stream. You know where you're at. You're at Spartan SQ Network. I am your host, the Spartan, aka Peter. How is everybody doing tonight? We already have our first comment. We got our buddy, my boy, King Smith. Hit the like button on your way, and of course, you know you want to. And he says, I love the intro. I always say that. And yes, you do. You always been saying that. So, guys, tonight we're gonna have an interesting conversation. A conversation that I think it needs to be said. We have love, but can we level that up? But before we move on, let's get my first boy in the house tonight. Of course, we're talking about my boy Sean. Hey, Sean, what's going on, my man?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. You're a little low.
Okay, what's going on? How are you?
Not bad. Not bad. So, what do you have to say on this? Love that
I
levels up.
just got here, so I have no idea what you're saying, what you're speaking about. So ask me.
I literally just started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, what's your opinion on that?
On love is what?
Love that levels up.
Good question.
Yeah. Sean,
Love
you're
is.
still a little low. Can you somehow raise your mic or something?
Hold on 1 second. Let me try
Yeah.
and get this together. Trying to wonder, cause you're low as well. I need to get my head. Love is love. You said right?
Love that levels up.
Well, that's a very tricky scenario because
Hmm.
identifying what levels up is subjective to the person. Me personally, love is love.
Hmm.
Um, and whether it levels up or not doesn't change my love for a person. I don't expect them to have to reciprocate. Like, for example, unconditional love is what they call it. I understand that and I embrace that. So if I'm in a relationship, there will be times that I don't like a person, but I'm gonna
Of
always
course.
love them. There's not an ex that I have that I don't love, even though we're not in a relationship, even though we're no longer involved with one another. I still have love. Now, some people say it's an agape love, etc., and so on and so forth. And yeah, that can be determined. The problem with love is that it has so many different uh, uh, potential meanings in the American language.
Hmm.
So identifying, that's why I say you got to really identify the context that the person is speaking to and what they're referring to when they're talking about love in order to really determine what that means. Now, if we're talking romantic love, uh, yes, there are specific conditions that come along with that. But one of the conditions is that I embrace always is that you're not always going to like the person, and that doesn't mean that you guys should let that be a deterrent. Because if you're looking to like or to always agree with or things of that nature, you're gonna fail.
Hmm.
So when you say leveling up, that's if you can explain to me what you feel or what you're thinking, I could probably better answer it because I don't think there's any specific levels when it comes to me loving.
This is not a right or wrong answer kind of question. Is a independent question, I believe, because
Okay.
love can be leveled up in so different ways. You could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be supporting somebody, or pushing them to do something better with their lives, or to do motivate them. It could be so many different ways. This is why
Well,
this is a very tricky, if I can pronounce the word right, tricky question. Because one of my questions tonight was, what does it mean to you individually love to level up in a relationship?
well, you just mentioned something. Physical or intimate physical. I forget which word you use. Um, doesn't equate to love.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So you can be physical and not particularly love someone. And this is where I think a lot of confusion comes in, because if you're not clear on what you think, you can get uh you can get confused on what you feel.
Hmm.
And I think that's where we have a lot of discrepancies. Uh, as Precious introduced me to this, uh, love have three elements that I think in a romantic in a relationship, and that's hot, honest, open, and transparent. For me, that's necessary. And if one of those or some of those are missing, me being able to commit entirely is going to be a challenge.
Okay.
Alicia, how you doing today?
Alicia, yourself. You muted. Yeah, we
Hi,
have no volume from you. There you go.
hi. I'm doing much better today.
First of all, before we move on with your ask your opinion, how are you feeling overall?
Week is feeling overall good. I do have cancer. I do have chemo week this week, so but usually it doesn't hit me until like the rest of the week. I'll start feeling a little lightheaded, dizzy, just minor things.
Hmm.
But overall, this treatment seems to be working well, and things seem to be going in the right direction.
All right. So, same question to you. What does love that levels up means to you?
Um, so I was reading, uh, the synopsis of what we were talking about tonight. And tonight, the two things that stuck out to me was communication is a big one,
Hmm.
and oh, what was the other one? Just being there for one another, like which I find hard, which I find hard in relationships. Strips. It seems like relationships, marriage, the thought of being there for one another is just something I'm not seeing anymore. Like it's like everybody's just out for their own selves.
People are very selfish right now.
Yeah, and that's what I feel is so hard. Like right now I'm divorced, so I've divorced, I've been dating, I've been in relationships. So right now I'm just back to dating. But again, I just see it as everyone's out for themselves and
I Go ahead. I'm sorry.
there's no communication anymore. The lack of communication is what uh among one things that has destroyed past relationships and past marriages amongst other things. But that's a huge thing. No one wants to communicate. No one wants to be there for each other. I just don't know anymore.
So people are very selfish right now in their relationships. And Mandrell, friend of the channel, has said this very well. And I think Sean is going to agree with this comment. You have to be the most unselfish person in a relationship.
Hmm.
And people don't know how to do that. They're thinking about me, 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 or what I want, what I need. Sean showed a video on Friday that hits that point to the T. this woman was taking money out of their family account to save for herself when something happens. And when she divorced or she leaves him, like was worried about taking care of herself, and he was pissed, and I agreed with that. So, and then the same question I asked Sean a minute ago was, what does it mean for love to level up in a relationship to you?
Love to me means being there, like understanding that you should be there for your partner, husband, wife. Like
Mhm.
that's so important. And that's what we're lacking, is what I feel. Just nobody wants to be there for one another.
I will say one thing, and I think again Sean's going to agree with me. Communication has gone down the drain really fast. Nobody
Hmm.
talks anymore. They prefer to text each other before they have a conversation.
Right.
So I think that's one issue we're having. And I always said it in any relationship I've been. Communication is the first key of building something.
Absolutely.
And we're not there anymore.
Oh, if you don't communicate, you're hiding stuff. You're not being truthful. You're not letting your partner know what you need. They're not letting you know what they're not letting you know what they need. It's why relationships, marriages aren't lasting anymore.
You
I
said
know
something that's very important in there. Be
so many people
Go ahead, I'm
getting,
sorry.
so many people are getting divorced. Relationships just don't last.
Actually, believe it or not, Alicia, we did a show about a couple weeks ago on divorce. The rate of divorce is very, very low, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes. Coach, what's going on, my man?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, nice and loud.
What's up, Alicia? How you doing? What's up, Sean?
I'm good. How are you?
You looking good over there.
Thanks. Even though I lost all my hair.
What's up? Well, that's okay then. My wife
Oh,
shaved her hair, so and she had hair down to her buttocks, and she had me cut it. You know,
yeah. Mine's
it's
all
all
done.
right. You don't need her to be a good person, that's for sure.
That's facts.
So,
True, but it's hard, especially for girls.
yeah, because most girl, not to get nothing against you, most women got big heads anyway. I understand. Y'all need a little hair. It's just part of the nature of a woman. Y'all got big heads. It's just, hey, yeah, all my sisters got big heads too. My wife got a big head. Tell her all the time. So,
You got a lot of room to talk.
I mean, I'm a man. I'm supposed to have a big tank.
Mm,
I accept my tank head. I've been, that's why I play football.
All
mm.
right, coach. Same question for you, for everybody else.
Oh,
What does
oh,
love that
Jesus.
level up means to you?
Love that levels up. Man, you hit us with these vague, tough questions, right?
I
I mean, I
love it.
guess it depends. I guess it depends on who you are. Um, what I don't know what expectations you have. And I'll look at it, in all components, like love coming from my family, friends, and significant other. Family, you would hope that they love you unconditionally, seeing that all of you all start from the basics of life, whatever home you in or situation you in. Sometimes that gets a little rocky as you get older. You play great as cousins, as kids, and then when you start getting to your teenagers, start taking your different paths. Some people sort of hold it against you. It's like it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. That's why I don't give a damn what people think about what I do to better my life. Because you can go to, want better for yourself, and some family who want to just be on BS will
Mm.
sort of isolate you just because you're looking at the big picture. So they can, not really appreciate you and show you the love that you really need and support that you need. And you could come caught up in it and start having self doubt and give up on your goals and your dreams. And friends, friends just going to have to, I like people who are supportive, not just always talking down or bad about, you know, something that makes me better. But I would like my friends to hold me accountable if I'm thinking about being on some BS, or if I'm doing something that's intentionally doing something to hurt somebody. I would want people to say something to. That's just me. When it comes to my loved one, hell, my wife, as you together with somebody long enough and you thinking about the same things that you want, it's only gotten better. I can't describe it. Everybody has to go through it themselves, but when you get that connection, and each year, man, it's about, I don't know, man, you find out new things about the person.
Hmm.
Um, me, some things can be good, some things can be bad. I don't really focus on the bad too much. I'm not going to get mad at my wife, if she starts snoring in the bed, nothing like that. But, we get older, man. I'm not going to nitpick. When I met her, she didn't wear glasses. I didn't wear glasses. But hell, now we both wearing glasses, but, I would hope I'm leveling up. Everything she has is dedicated to me, and everything I have is dedicated to her. And I say it all the time, if she was to leave me today, I can rebuild. She can take all this shit. I don't want no memories of her anyway if she leave me.
I think technically
you
there's
know,
like
but I don't know. I'm an engineer, man, so I don't look at it like, oh, I lose stuff. It's just stuff. She ain't gonna have no good luck with my stuff anyway. That's the way I look at it. I believe, in a higher, just beyond the physical. I think about, some mental capacities of it. I would think that I'm trying to be a better version each day. And I don't know. Everybody has to experience it for themselves to understand what it means to level up. But again, you got friends, you got family, and you got your significant other. So I just compartmentalize everything and just move accordingly. If my friends start treating me like shit, I guess that love is over. My family start treating me, hey, my wife, hey, I ain't gonna deal with it too long. Maybe 6 months, a year. Then I'm like, listen, one of us got to go. But, you know,
That is true. Um, would you say in a relationship that you experience, and Alicia mentioned this before, I want your opinion, is communication the number one factor, and being a non-selfish person is good, is important too?
I think non-selfish, there has to be something that's already in you. I think that's something I can't teach my wife to be, you know, to not be selfish. I think that's always has to be. And I've always looked for women that had that type of quality or characteristic. Somebody who didn't mind going help feed the homeless, or
Hmm.
working with the youth or the kid. I've always been attracted to women like that. Um, yeah, communication is another key element, man. Me and my wife talk every day. And, nonverbal communication, people don't really pay attention to that much. How a person's mood is around you, whether they laugh around you. I think humor is important. Me and my wife find I don't know, it's times throughout the day we'll laugh and joke. We'll laugh and joke. She'll say something about me, I'll say something about, and we'll just bust out laugh. And again, we've always had that open communication back and forth. When we first got married and we had issues, we made a pact not to ever go to bed mad at each other. So what we used to do is get up and drive around in the car till we figured it out, and went back home and finished the night out on a good note. Yeah, so yeah, communication. I think respect is good. I think she respects me and I respect her inside the home and outside the home. There's certain things I know she wouldn't do, and certain things I wouldn't do. Because and trust, you have to be able to trust that person.
I think that's very important. What you said, you should not go in bed angry. It's very important because a lot of people do go bed mad or sleep in separate rooms. One sleeps on a couch, or whatever the case is. That is so important. People forget about that. I found that very fascinating. You said that.
Yeah, I mean, but again, everybody treats their relationship different. Um, so I don't know, man. I like to touch the woman that I'm around all the time. I like to be able to touch you. I like to be able to, have that energy with you. I don't know, man. Everybody's different. I, I never really followed behind a woman in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So she moved a certain way. I would just, okay, well, you go ahead and go your own way because that's not how I move, you know. But
And I think it's very important you said it. And like it also is, and I mentioned it before. This is not a answer that is a multiple part. It's a answer to every individual person because this is different for everybody. If I'm making sense there.
yeah, it's gonna be different for everybody, man. Because just again, I compartmentalize anything has to do with people. I don't group all of my friends in the same group, my family in the same group. I've never done that. I mean, since I can remember, I had friends that know me for different sports. Some people know I play two sports. Some people know me for just one sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had friends talk about other friends that we knew together, but I never was running back and saying, "Oh, somebody talked about you." And when I did hear somebody say something about a friend of mine, I would always question them, man, why don't you go ask them or tell them what you're telling me? And, I just worked it out. I didn't, I don't know, man, just looking back, people that I've met came into my life. I've always wanted to respect them. And I also ensured that I receive respect also. And that was with man or woman. Love, I ain't really love too many people outside my mother and father. I ain't really love too many people. That I do know. That I do know. And but I've had a lot of respect for some people. And I do have female friends that I knew before my wife. And when I say friends, I grew up in a house with girls, so I could have relationships with women outside of wanting to sex them. So I wasn't battling with that issue. There's been some women that wanted to sex me after being my friend. And I was like, no, this is where we are. We're going to stay friends. And vice versa. Sure. Sometime it was able to go that far, sometime it wasn't. But
Mm-hmm.
I think communication and respect, all those things go hand in hand. You can't have respect without communication because I would hope Alicia tells me that she's going to go spend $500 on uh, a hairnet, instead of just spending the money. And I would, especially big things, if my wife respects me, she lets me know when there's something that needs to be gotten outside the home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
All right, let's get to the
I
next
don't
guy in
know.
here, guys. Baby Groot. Dave, what's going on, my man?
So we have to do it all over again. There's nothing
Yes.
British about me. That's the problem. I'm more bearish than British. Anyway, I was coming in from outside. I was running a couple of errands. And I remember the topic, love that levels up. I'm more like that. I can't say I'm anti-love, but I can never think of any relationship that I have that's level up for me throughout my life. Because if anything, I'm the one leveling them up. I'm the one looking out for them, and they take advantage of it. And
Hmm.
when I go to those things, I the question I ask myself, why can't I just be a bad guy and be vicious? Well, I'm helping people. I don't know. But watching people talking about it, it is question like maybe love is not for everybody. Maybe.
I
Maybe
disagree with
some
that personally.
I no, I know it's easy to disagree. But only that kept me going this far so long is the respect and the oath I took with certain people in my life, like my uncle, like my sensei. Certain people who left a huge impact on my life. Was no love, was a huge level of respect I have for them. Love, I used to love my parents until I realized they were backstabbing me, betraying me, doing me dirty and everything. At a certain point in my life, I had a level of darkness in me whereby I just, yes, strictly speaking, I wanted to, but I had to remove myself from the situation. And I used to tell people in my family, it's best to stay far away from me, even what's best for them. I literally did. Because I would say right now in present time, there's certain family members in my life, for their safety, they should stay about 10,000 miles away from me, period.
Why is that,
Because
David?
why that? The thing they have done, the thing they have said, the contradiction, the hypocrisy, and the fact, the lack of honesty. All I ask is honesty and respect, and they can't even provide that. Let me know I don't need them around me. The only person in my immediate family I get grace to is my baby sister. Everybody else is on site. That is just it. Now, I've people who are not family, I have that same criteria for them, and I told them, as God as my witness, if your life is in danger, I'm not going to save you. I will walk past you. I've warned people before in the past, if you burn me the worst way possible, if you lie to me many times and not be honest, if I find out the truth by myself, I promise not to lift a finger to spare your life if it's necessary. If I can save you, I will not do it. If anything I'm going to be consistent about it. I pride myself to be consistent in what I do, what I tell, what I stand on, what I continue to work on. I'm not perfect. That's a guarantee. Anyone who trying to play me for a fool, trying to play me with a mockery and say you're there for me or you're not really there for me, I expect those people to stay far away from me. I have protected people who got burned the worst way like I have and then some and protected those kind of people, especially in high school. But the LOVE word, I used to be a Bible nerd, it's hard for me to believe it if it exists in me right now. I don't know. Because I take that word a little bit too serious. I don't play around with it. I don't throw it out there if I don't mean it. And for a person like me who watch people throw it out there and I actually speak otherwise, it got me in a bind of like why it's easy for people to throw that word, especially parents. They say they love their kids, but at the same time they say they love their kid, they do their kid dirty, they do their kid evil, they do all kind of things to sabotage and destroy them,
Hmm.
spread lie, it's something that made me want to be a better parent.
Let me ask you a question, David.
I'm a person who has to face that thing, and I have to ask myself every day since I was 13.
Uh,
Ask me a
uh,
question.
uh, Let me ask you a question because you're a father and grandfather. I'm not gonna make any
I
bad
know,
jokes
I know.
with you being a ancient grandpa yet. That's later on the show. But my question is to you is it different kind of type of level of love for your child and your grandkids, or is it the same?
The level I have for my child and my grandkids at the top of the fatherly love that I have built over time. But before I became a father, I looked out for other people's kids. I used to babysit other people's kids. I had to be highly protective of other people's kids. I
Hmm.
remember a time I used to serve at a church in Queens, Jamaica. It's not Jamaica Queen, but far from Jamaica Queen. But a lot of kids will be under my protection. I protect them very, very safe, like a papa bear. I'm that kind of individual. The reason why I did that, and the reason I'm the way I am, I wasn't protected as a child. When I needed that protection as a kid, I never got it. When I'm in dire situation, I never received it. So I know what it feels like when a child get in a vulnerable place and need protection. I will be there for that child, but I'm very disciplined about it.
Hmm.
So I have a fatherly love, a grandfatherly love when it comes to kids, yes. But what I won't tolerate from kids is disrespect. I won't do them nothing. I'll let them know if you're going to be disrespectful to your elder, disrespectful to me. When you want grandpa to save, I will stand right there and do nothing. I'll give you that look. You know what I tell you about disrespect? You have to earn it. You can't go around and play game because I watch kids do that with parents. They want to play their parent like a fiddle, have no respect for the parent, but when the parent is protected, mm-mm. I understand the scripture very, very well. So I try my best to teach young kids: be careful who is protecting you. Be careful who is covering you. You think you can take it for granted? God can take you out of the way and let you suffer if He wanted to. So the type of love I have for kids is different, especially for my own. Outside that, I'm in the African world. I know they play, or I know they play that type of game. I'm kind of the person whereby actions speak out louder than words. I don't believe what people tell me in their mouth anymore. They think you love. I'm gonna look at you dead in the face like I'm not going to believe it, because when you have someone who grew up in that environment whereby I received that word, but the action did not align with the word, and you grew up in that scenario, I'm not going to believe it. I think that's the reason why I never joined the military, even though I did try to join. Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe there's something about me that could have put me in a dark path. I don't know. Everything happened for a reason.
Hmm.
That's why I got into mixed martial art, to control my anger, to control my way. That is the honest truth. If I didn't did if I didn't dig martial art at all, I would have been hurting people left and right. That is the honest truth. I would have been a wrecking ball. I would enjoy putting people in the hospital and laugh about it. That's one of the main reasons I got into martial art, to control the rage I have, to control the anger I have, to keep me in check. I live my life according to principles. I don't follow society norms. Even when now society is losing their goddamn mind, I just laugh about it like, and they want to dictate who's normal, who's not. Please give me a break. So when it comes to love that leveled up, I'm yet to experience it. I'm being honest with you. You have to let your action speak for itself when it comes to me, especially when coming from a woman. I hate to say this. After my situation, I can say I'm black hearted when it comes to women. I don't know. Maybe that could be the case. I don't know.
So interesting, David. You said something there that makes a lot of sense. Is you just actions louder than words. Can you get a little detail first before we go into that?
Action. Now, if I click on action, then I'm gonna be critically hard. What the Bible dictate what love is, that's what I applied on. And what I look at the biblical principle what love really is, not too many people live by it. And when not too many people live by those principles, then I don't trust them. That's the thing. This is why I say
Mhm.
not. That's another thing I've told people. I know so help speaking to me. I've said this before. Not everybody who go to church is actually a Christian. People throwing that title around too many times, and I can tell off the bat. A lot of people in the country ain't Christian to begin with. Okay.
Understatement.
So that being said, if you're not following biblical principle, don't call yourself a Christian. Call yourself a churchgoer. Now I understand. Republican Party is not a Christian party. It's a church going party. But it ain't Christian, not even half close to it.
Mhm.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I stick on fact. I don't do hearsay what I think it is. It has to match.
Yeah.
If
There,
it
hang on one
doesn't
second.
match, I don't want to hear it. So this is why the word love, I take that LOVE word critically serious. Since I
Mhm.
take the title Christian, I take that word critically serious. So when people want to throw that word LOVE and that word Christian around, I'm gonna analyze your action. If you don't follow that action down to the T, I don't want to hear it. Don't just it doesn't do well with me.
Mhm. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our president. Mr. President, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay, guys. Good evening.
So, Paul, our topic tonight is love that levels up. So, David left off, and he probably heard most of it.
No, I
The
haven't. I was just trying to get logged on, so I didn't hear the last point or where the
so
context is.
he was going over that actions are louder than words right now. So, in your opinion, what is love that levels up?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, you got to give me a context of what points you're trying to drive home. I mean, I don't have a context for
In a relationship?
what that means. I still don't know what that means. Love that levels up. I think it's love in general is, again, do you care for and respect the person that you're with? Learning how to better understand them, care for their needs.
Mhm.
I don't, that's, the context I see it in as far as how that levels up. Um, I think love should improve over time. I would say that simply because as you know someone better, you're in a better position to serve them better, um, with knowledge and experience and time. So love should be better the longer you're with someone, not necessarily fade off. That's if you're paying attention and if you're intentional about really wanting to serve that other person. So again, that's the context that I'm seeing it in. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's the only context I can understand at this point.
Do you think love in a relationship changes when over the years that you can change? Say, love was up is different than from when you met your wife to now.
But I'm still trying to wrap my head around what do you mean by leveling up? That's throwing me off.
Love went up like stepping up for emotionally, physically, supporting her on a career change or whatever the case is. That's leveling up, taking a step up, being a non-selfish person in a relationship. In other words,
Yeah, but that's love. Period. I mean, I don't see how that levels up. Like I said, I think it should get better. Again, the longer the longer you're with someone, um, like I said, it should improve. You should learn, just like any skill. You should learn how to better serve, again, because you know your partner or your spouse better. Um, so I don't see that as leveling up. As far as dealing with the changes in a person, like over time, I think that could certainly improve. Um, certainly as but again, I think you have to be constantly present to adapt to those changes as they come. I think love can get lazy when you think, okay, yeah, I got this down, I got this person down, but you're not paying attention to the changes that may be coming. You may not be paying attention to the change in season that you're in. Again, I keep going back to seasons because I have to deal with the present. I can't depend on how I loved my wife 20 years ago or 25 years ago. We're
Would
different
you
people now.
consider that? I'm sorry to cut you off. Would you consider that a moving to a new stage into a new part of the relationship?
I guess I'm having trouble with the language. I don't know if it's necessarily a new phase or new part of the relationship. The relationship is the same. It's just the terms and things may change, But again, there has to be. I've talked about this before. Um, there has to be an elasticity. If you're too rigid in how you do things or your expectations on how things need to be done, then again, when those changes come, you're not going to be ready for them. But
Okay.
you have to. But I mean, again, my wife and I, we've gone through virtually every phase possible, having no kids, having 3 kids in 4 years, having young girls, teenagers, adults. We just got back from Grenada. My daughter's in medical school, so it's just it's all evolving. It's
Well,
always changing, and I
oh, I
don't
can't
think
say
that.
you've been able to phase yet because you haven't been grandparents yet. Grandparents yet.
Well, I said obviously up to this point. But when and if that time comes, I guess we'll have to adjust to that. We'll take that on as it comes. Also,
Mhm.
it's just, to me, love is just what it is,
And he's
and
older than me, and he's not a grandparent yet, but I am. That's unfair.
but yeah, I mean, to me, it's the same. It's the same thing. I mean, I guess since you come from like a martial arts background,
Mhm.
again, Bruce Lee talked about be like water, adapt to conditions and whatnot, be flexible and whatnot. But martial arts is still martial arts. Kicking is kicking, punching is punching, blocking, trapping, footwork. Uh, the basics are the same. You know what I mean? But again, what condition or environment do you find yourself in, where you may have to make some adaptation to it, but the foundation is still going to be the same. So again, I don't think it um, uh, necessarily uh, changes how uh, the amount of love that I have for my wife. It's just, it's what's required for today. I think that's really where we find ourselves, and we just, like I said, we just stay in the present, and deal with the situation at hand and what needs to be done to keep a good thing to continue to be moving, and not resting on our laurels in terms of where our relationship is.
The analogy you use with martial arts is pretty interesting because you can build a little further on it. Martial arts is martial arts, which is comparable to love if you're comparing it, because every fight you get into, you have to still adjust to whatever style you're fighting
Yeah,
against. So I like that parallel. I just wanted to add that to your
right, right.
analogy.
But the work essentially, but in the training, a lot of the training is going to be the same, right? I mean, how many drill work, sparring, just that constant repetition until it becomes, because the thing you talk about fighting, because a lot of times with fighting, what happens with a lot of martial artists, that's why I still hold to this day, a lot of martial artists don't know how to fight, because the idea is that, um, because the idea
We're
is
gonna
that
argue again. We always argue about this every time you bring this
the
up.
idea is, again, I mean, because it's one thing to spar or even be in a tournament match with somebody, you know, you're gonna bow to each other and then you're gonna bow to the judges and then you guys gonna fight or whatever. But in the street, like the difference between winning and losing is how rapidly can you take that martial arts training that you got and it should be like automatic. Or is there going to be a pause or delay or whatever because someone jumps you or takes you by surprise or something like that? I mean, we don't plan fights shouldn't necessarily be planned for in the real world. But again, how do you slow that down? It's through the constant repetition of doing of certain things. You can't prepare for. I think there was back in the day there was like an In Living Color skit with Carrie. He was like playing a martial art instructor, and he's like, okay, when the guy comes and does this, and then the guy just still gets him anyway or whatever, because you just can't expect somebody to just do. You can't do martial arts by step. You know, step 1,
And
step
you're
2,
right.
step 3.
And
You
that's
know,
why
it's
they have like sometimes your instructor is going to jump behind you and just attack you, and you have to defend that.
yeah. And
So
it's not
what
going to
you
look like it's not going to look like your katas. It's not going to look like anything
no,
that
Akata is actually a stepping
practice.
stone of teaching you the techniques. That's all it is. When it comes down to the actual self-defense part of it, it's a multiple puzzle. Kata's one, techniques is another one. Then he's gonna do a blind test. He will say, "Okay, let's do defense against a punch," for example. And then all of a sudden, he's just gonna start throwing haymakers out of blue, like different kind of punches. You got to defend yourself against that. So that's why I personally disagree with that. Not only because I'm a martial arts personally, is because I've seen good instructors. I can't speak for all the instructors. I only speak for good instructors. I think David's gonna back me up on this. Go
Let me
ahead,
just
David.
say this. The only thing I don't like about it, we're saying we don't spar. You don't know what it feel like when you gotta fight your senpai or your sensei, and all they're trying to do is break your joint or break your shin, and you don't know how hard their body feel. And I went to the sparring section. I thought about to break my leg, and he was kicking the same spot more than several times over on purpose. So yeah, they do sparring, but here's the bad part. That thing got debunked when somebody I forgot where the Discovery Channel or other channel they went to Japan. I went to the original one, and they tried out the original sparring thing they be doing over there in Japan. And when and it's a white fella, when you open his gi, you see the amount of bruising on his body he was getting. I'm not sure anyone want to go through that type of sectioning whereby they're conditioning you, whereby they're bruising your ribs, they're bruising your chest, they're bruising your kidney shot area, your knee, your thigh. By the time you done the whole section, your body turning black and blue. Where you think that one coming from?
I put it
Trying
this
to
way.
take in, trying to take a
Go
shot
ahead,
in the
David.
chest with a kick, and they're training you to take a blow.
So
Oh,
I'll
we
put it
hard.
another example, Paul. My instructor's knuckles were so hard from conditioning. I tap a little love tap to the head. It will give you a migraine. That's how hard his knuckles were.
Mhm.
So you can't really compare that for like honest truth. Like, yeah, he's not fighting. It actually is. It's a different style of fight.
Well,
You know what
well,
I'm
I
saying?
mean, yeah, both have great points of views. What you just described is conditioning. Your body can be conditioned any way you want to, as long as you continue to exercise it in that manner. Your body does amazing things when you condition it amazing ways. So to his point, martial art doesn't specifically mean that you can fight, but that doesn't mean as well that uh, people who can fight with martial arts can be very dangerous, because fighting doesn't come from your training specifically. It comes from your endurance and your abilities to, like you said, adjust to nuances, adjust to different styles, adjusting to different things. And sometimes your training can teach you that, because Peter just said, his instructor did things out of the blue. So that would be a good instructor. I think what's arguable is, to Peter's point, whether or not you have a good instructor in martial arts, because that is what really would determine your abilities in any capacity.
Mhm.
Is, you know, whether it be martial arts, basketball, football, it's your coach or your instructor that can determine how to elevate your natural abilities if you have them, and how to give you abilities if you don't.
But legally speaking, this country have laws that are applied against people who are trained to be a weapon. So if anything, most of our centers are teaching how to avoid fight in any situation unless we have to utilize our skills. Because last I checked, the extent that applied to the military applied to boxing, which also applied to wrestling, which also applied to mixed martial arts. And the past 5 years, there have been people who have been testing people from the MMA arena who do UFC, whatever, and you saw the end result, whereby the mugshot was looking kind of like it's not something cool to learn something that you use that to teach people in the military to just use on anybody. Normally, you do trying to avoid fighting. That's the number one aspect of it. Avoid fight at all costs. But if you have to, it depends on that person's mindset. And not everybody is the same. God forbid you teach someone who's very sadistic. So imagine giving someone a skill set and he's not mentally stable and you trigger that individual and all you want to do and see how far he can push your bodily limit. But you don't know how to restrain himself.
Well, what's interesting about that is that you're right, but those laws are in place specifically because, like a weapon, a
Hmm.
gun, um, if someone else doesn't have a gun, you can take advantage and abuse uh, the ability that you do have a gun. Similar to martial arts, what you just described. Your example, for example, only applies to somebody without training or somebody who cannot fulfill that endurance. But if you run into somebody who can and who has been training and can go ahead, and all of that endurance means nothing because now you're even equally matched. Like that gun means nothing with somebody else who has another gun. Now it becomes who has a better shot, not who has a gun.
And that's the same philosophy. But when you put that in the aspect of love, that fall in the same principle because everybody used the word so easy. Because I throughout the 80s and the 90s, I'd be asking myself the question, why people throw that word out so easy but never mean it? How you say you love this person but your actions speak otherwise? How you say you love this man but you sleep with his best friend? How you say you love this dude you sleep with his
Ooh.
brother? How you say you love this person but you sleep with his father? I'm seeing video popping up and people doing DNA tests find out it's not my child but it's my father. I'm like everybody want to use the LOVE word so easy, like it's candy.
Oh, well,
That's why I hate
well,
people
well.
who use it so freely, like it's cheap.
When you when you said that earlier, I was thinking it's a slippery slope to say you only you don't listen to what people say. You only react, or you only embrace what do things, and manipulate you the same way. So manipulation is what you're describing, whether it's in action or whether it's through words, is doesn't matter. What you're disappointed with is the manipulation, the deception. It's not about their action or their word per se. It's about the fact that they're deceptive. So that deception is what you're trying to avoid and what you're trying to identify. It's not specific to, and it can come through words. It can come through actions.
I
Men do it
agree,
all the time with women. They
and
tell women what they show women what women say they want to see to
I
get
see
what
that
they
too,
want, and it's rooted in
Mhm.
manipulation.
and I see
I
that
can a
very
little bit
very
disagree with
clearly.
that, Sean. I'll be honest with you because you hear women say all the time, "I love you," but they really want want something out of it usually.
So what are you're agreeing with me then? Because it's manipulative.
Oh
What you
yeah, I'm
just
definitely
described
agreeing.
is manipulative.
I'm
Yeah.
only saying I think females do 90% more than men do.
That's game. That's the no, Peter. No, no, that's not true. Because men want the
I got
cookies like women want the money. And it's just about them manipulating to get it. They both practice it evenly,
I gotta
just
disagree with
for
that.
different things. Okay, explain.
Go ahead, Alicia. Go ahead.
Like, what do you mean that we say "I love you" just to get something?
90% of women has been proven studies will say I love you to get something out of it. It could be something so stupid as a bag, makeup, dinner, whatever the case is.
Hmm. I personally,
But didn't not history proving that kingdom have been lost and destroyed because of a woman?
I
Facts.
personally never done that in life.
Yeah, I assume you're going to disagree no matter what, Alicia, because you're going to defend adversary. Because you're a woman, you're going to defend them. Like same thing with me. I'm going to defend my guys. End of the day,
I
you know what I'm
defend
saying?
nobody
Yeah.
because when people want to abuse the word LOVE, I'm gonna be watching and looking at how you conduct yourself. Because that word have been made so cheap. It's like especially from I watch parents say they love their kid, but they treat their kid like garbage. But they treat the dog better than they treat their own child. And I find that like, what's the point of this? I spent 7 years in the country, and I've seen pure level of evil coming from parents, whereby they have their own child, but they'll treat one of your child better than them, or they'll treat an animal better than them, or they'll treat somebody who is not blood related to them better than them, and vice versa. I see it out here too as well. So me being a parent, I train myself not to be that way. But we come to a relationship, that's a whole nother firewall that's been put in place. Because for one, no one was either taught at home what love really is, or they never seen it firsthand. Yeah, there are a lot of people coming from broken home. I get it. I understand it. They don't know how to change what they have learned from their past or unlearn from it, but it's what they're used to. But when you have the level of hypocrisy, the level of deception, the level of manipulation going on, whereby, God forbid, you find out 15 years later the kid that doesn't belong to you, belongs to somebody else, but the person knew for the whole time, but they want to tell. Like, I see a lot of this. Why topics like these things with LOVE, that's why I can't say the word too well because I can't. It's it rubbed me the wrong way. So it's like I'm not gonna believe nobody's speech. I can only believe your action. I can only believe your word. I can only believe how you conduct yourself. If your action align with your speech, then that is genuine. When people love somebody, they do it. They don't just say it. There's a unique language people show how they love a particular person. It's very, very genuine. You cannot fake it. I look at Mr. Bennett and his wife. They have been together for how many? 27 season, 28 season. There's a foundation whereby they not only love each other, but they also respect each other. There's a level of consistency that makes it go that long. Not many people can stand on that type of principle. I look at the older folk who have been married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and I ask that same question, and they tell me the same thing. It's consistency. It takes work. It's not just all about saying it, it's what you do. If I'm wrong,
You
he
know
has
I
to
don't like
apply
that.
himself.
You know I don't like that word, David. So
Consistency.
no work.
Oh, I
Oh,
remember.
that's why we were shaking your head, Paul.
No, I remember that. I remember the discussion I have when you heard about the word work, and I have to agree with the Bennett. It's not work, but he's
All
right
right,
about it. There-
let,
There's, there's, there's a word I'm trying to use. But it's not work, but it's something else.
All right,
My
let's
apologize
take
for that.
a 3 minute break. Let's get her a commercial break really fast, and we'll get back into it. And Alicia, Alicia, I'm sorry. Mariana, when we come back in, I'll have you jump in and give your opening thoughts. All right.
Okay.
All right, guys, let's go to a commercial break.
In the ring we stand tall. Words are blades that never fall. Debate like warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean. Spirited minds sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night. Join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance. In this arena there's no chance to escape the vibrant lore. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Be heard. Will be heard. Will be heard. Will be heard.
All right, guys, we're back at it. I'll bring the guys back one by one in here, and we'll get back to our show. So first up, it's Coach. Second, baby group, Mr. President, Alicia, Sean, and Mariana. Mariana, let's get you in first. Your opening thoughts. What does love that levels up means to you? And there's no right or wrong answer. This is your opinion.
Um, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
like love level up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't know. I'm gonna say this in my opinion. I feel like there's like two individuals fighting for one individual. Meaning, okay, I'm better than this. I don't know. I'm gonna say this. I'm talking this out of out of my ass right now.
That's fine.
It's I will say it's like somebody you have two individuals that really love this person. And who is the better who's gonna be our girlfriend or the better whoever, that comes out. I'm thinking level up. That's what I'm thinking. This is my opinion. I know that before my parents came, my father basically fight for her, meaning to marry her. And then there was another guy that, my sister, my aunts, my mom's sister didn't want her to, marry him. So it's like a battle of like, who's the best, trying to, like, okay, you really you want to be in my life? That's what I think.
Mhm.
Love up. Basically, who's gonna be a better person for me? Who's gonna be there for me? That's what I think, in my opinion. Somebody that's gonna be there, somebody is gonna be um for the long ride, going good times and bad times. So that's what
Okay.
I think.
All right. Before we move on, I have one video I want to play you guys. I kind of want to see your opinions on this.
Okay.
on love or level up without it. I'm Noah 30. 3 years ago, I was sleeping on my brother's couch, working part-time as a substitute teacher after losing my full-time position during district cuts. I loved teaching. Always had. But being a broke educator didn't exactly impress my girlfriend, Lila. One night, after a long day filling in for a sick science teacher, I came home exhausted. Lila was waiting with her arms crossed. "You need to stop pretending you're someone important," she said. "You're not building a future. You're just a temp with a whiteboard." I said, "I'm working towards something." She laughed. "You'll never be more than a substitute teacher with big dreams." That night, she packed her bags and left, said she couldn't waste her 20s on someone who couldn't afford ambition. For 2 weeks, I spiraled. Self-doubt, insomnia, ramen noodles for dinner. But her words kept echoing. Big dreams. She said it like it was an insult, so I turned it into fuel. I picked up every sub-job I could find, saved every dollar, got certified in special education, ESL, and trauma-informed teaching. Nights were for online classes and reading everything I could on educational leadership. Eventually, I applied for a grant to launch an alternative education pilot program for at-risk students. Falling through the cracks, it got approved. The district gave me a shot, a single classroom, a team of 3, and a challenge. Improve attendance and engagement in 6 months. We crushed it. Now, 2 years later, I'm the founding director of a school built on that pilot. We serve 200+ students, have a wait list, and we're just featured in Education Weekly. Last week, I was giving a tour to new parents when I saw her. Lila. She looked shocked. "You work here?" I smiled. "I run this place." She blinked. "I didn't think." I cut her off. "You were right. I had big dreams. You just weren't part of them. Would you give up on love or level up without it?" I'm Noah 30. 3 years ago, I was...
So who wants to go first on this? Go ahead, David.
I'll load up without it.
Without it.
Because
Why is that?
in today's society, the value of, let me rephrase that. The quality, the standard, the pedigree of women of today's society is almost completely piss poor,
Mm-hmm.
aka trash. If anything, to find a woman of virtue is like winning a lottery.
Okay.
So on that note, if I were to go back in time and redo my life, I'll do better without it. Just chase my goal, chase my dream. If she come along, she come along. If she don't come along, oh well, deuces. I think it'd be better off without it. The reason why I
I
would say
agree 100%
that
with what you're saying.
because where I'm looking at it right now, it's like I don't say love does not exist, but in the place called United States of America, it's not really much needed. Unless you're coming from the 1940, 50, 60, where the grade of women is different from what you see right now. What you see right now at the present market space is worse than Wendy's dollar menu. That's their value system. Yeah, they like to cook up the value at if it's worth it when it's not. I'll say it this way. Why would I? Why? This, I'll make it very easy. But since you have that phrase that been going on for the past couple of years, you can take no one to a cheap date. You got a wine dining. And pull out this. If someone expected to spend two, three, four, $500, if she's not a virgin, drop her like a bad habit. Plain and simple.
All right. Who wants to go
Let's
next?
do it that way. I endorse that message. If she got no virtue, drop her. Like you drop cigarette smoking.
Boy, you want to take this next?
A little bit torn on this one because I can kind of see both perspectives there. I think the idea of take love out of the equation. I talked about this before. Like, how do I define manhood, or certainly what I think the responsibility of every adult person. So this could be women as well. Is the ability certainly to take care of yourself and to grow and develop for your own sake. Now, I think when you do that, I don't think that should be for necessarily somebody else. You know what I mean? Unless, like, let's say if you're already married or something like that, and you want to do better for your family, if that's a motivation for you, then fine. But I don't know if you should necessarily need to be given an ultimatum. I don't think ultimatums in general don't work very well. So if he got his stuff together, which he should have already been doing, because she basically said, "I don't want to see you anymore because all you're going to be is a substitute teacher." Again, that's a good motivation, but I think he needs to be about that anyway. Now, with that, I mean, as you level up personally, I think that does make you more attractive to people. So, I think that just kind of naturally comes with that. But if someone's just going to, her saying to him, like, look, I don't know if I want this relationship to continue because all you want to be is a substitute teacher. I mean, I guess that's a choice that she's making, especially if she's trying to do some things and if he's content in his role as a substitute teacher or whatever, not putting that profession down, but you know, she has goals as well as that she's looking to do. So again, it's a lot of it's about finding that person who you guys could be on the same alignment with. But it's interesting if that, in fact, because she broke up with him, if that was the best thing for him that made him, level up and do better in life, then I guess overall it was a good thing, even though the relationship didn't work out. It was the best thing for him. But I think he really, people need to be about that anyway. Trying to do better than just surviving. But try to see how you can advance your life, your career, your education, your learning. And it took that breakup in order for those things to happen. So, now would I go back to someone like that? Probably. I don't know if I'd be, running back to her, say, "See, I did what you said I should do and whatnot, and let's get back together." Because I do, at the same time, the flip side of that is I do appreciate somebody's going to be with you, ride or die in the come up. So don't be coming at me now, when I'm arrived, and now you want to come back into my life. You see that all the time with people who didn't believe when you were on the come up, and now you're doing well, and now they're all into you in your DMs and everything else. I mean, I can appreciate not wanting to be around those type of people as well. So that's not.
Like I said, if they can't build with you, bounce.
But the problem is he wasn't building. that's a that's the
He
thing.
was
It you know.
he was comfortable where he was at, and she wanted more. And when he built more, because she left him, she got him back in his life. Like, no, I'm good. But it
Well,
could
we
be
didn't we didn't get that. It didn't say, at least if I didn't get from the video, it didn't say that, okay, she came on. I'm just saying in that scenario, hypothetically, if she does come back to that, or if he tries to go back for her, then again, I don't know if that's necessarily an ideal situation. But we do know that that does happen a lot of times when you go out and prove yourself. Then all the people who were like, talk about, oh yeah, I knew you could always do it, but it's like, where were you when I needed you? So,
I have a,
Mhm.
um,
I have a slight pushback because when it comes to teaching, not everybody able to get their full time potential of being a teacher. Some have to start from the teaching assistant and work their way up. You have to spend like how you say pay your due. You and I in both in the IT field. When we first got into the IT field, we had to pay our due before we could climb up.
Well, Alicia, you there?
Yes.
Yeah. I was you were a teacher one time. Is it? Do you have to be
Yeah.
a sub before become a teacher? How does that work?
No, you don't have to become a sub. You can always just go right into teaching. A
Mhm.
substitute is usually somebody that is trying to get into schools. So they start off by first trying to get sub jobs so that they can put it on their resume and
Mhm.
show where they're going, and hopefully get hired.
And not to, it's same thing with IT. You have people who intern in IT, hope they put them in field because some of the career path is not that straightforward. You got to put in work to climb up. It take time to build. Either you're a teacher or you're in the IT field. Mechanic is no different. You have to report the apprentice. You know that term sound like. We have.
Actually, mechanics a little different now. You really have to be a apprentice anymore. You can get in very easily, actually, through a technical
I know,
school.
but back then you had to go through that thing. Technical is one thing. I get it. But back then you had to do the same thing on a mechanic in carpentry, whatever. But you still had to pay your due. You had to work your way from the bottom. My issue is that the society has made it seem like everything is microwave, quick and easy. So if that's the case, that grade of women, they can kick rocks. Because if they will jump on board this moment because you got it, so the moment you lose it, they'll just bounce. That's the way I'm seeing it. But one who build with you, who stick that to thick and thin, that's one you can rely on more than one to just pop out of nowhere. Like Pop Tart.
Hmm.
What's the point? That is my view.
Coach, you got anything on this?
What was that question that you asked? I just comment on video.
You have anything on the video that pretty much I was asking?
I mean, no, I think, it's pretty much been summed up, So I actually don't have anything to say at the moment.
All right, Mariana, what about you?
It remind me of this very similar situation of the movie Pursuit of Happiness when the wife cannot put up with all the struggles and they had a hard time paying rent, and the situation was not that great, and he wants to do something better, and he went for this internship, and he wants to be a broker. Very similar with this. It's like you have to build yourself up in order to achieve. Either you come and struggle with me to go through the suffering in order to achieve that level, or if you cannot put up with it, just you know do as you please, because you have to go through struggles in order to achieve that where it is, if
Mm-hmm.
it's becoming a teacher or becoming a stockbroker, whatever it is. Sometimes you have to go through long phases of endurance, and I know that sometimes, and then when once this individual achieve it, it's, oh, you're doing well, like, oh, okay, we get back where we have, how we start, we, can we get a drink and all that. But then after that, you kind of had second thoughts. Oh, you didn't see that I could able to do it. You didn't have any faith in me. So that's what I look at. Sometimes, okay, we will give a second chance. Sometimes you don't believe in me, and then you feel like the hell with you. I'm not, you didn't believe me at first. That's how it feels. So, I mean, it's not to, you have to go through struggles in life in order to, and sometimes you just have to have faith in order to achieve that. But sometimes they don't, there's no patience.
Keyword.
Hey, Mary,
Go
I'm
ahead, Paul. Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Marianne,
I'm sorry.
can
Go
I
ahead.
ask you a couple? Can I ask you a couple questions? Personal questions, if you don't mind. Because you had
Yes.
said something earlier about your dad, and I know you shared on another stream about how I guess a lot of your aunts on your mother's side
Mm-hmm.
didn't want your mother marrying him, and
Mm-hmm.
how that got. But you said your dad fought to marry her. Um,
Mm-hmm.
why do you think that? Um, uh, what do you think might have happened? Because I also got the impression that they were married for a while. Obviously, there's 5 daughters and or 5 children and
Mm-hmm.
things. Do you think that love or that passion that he wanted her, despite the obstacles and everything, do you think maybe there's a reason why um, uh, maybe that passion wasn't there, or was it there from what you recall growing up, like how it went from he's risking a lot to get her, and then I guess maybe how it turned out at the end. And I guess the second question I have is just based on from a woman's perspective, and I'd like to get
Mm-hmm.
Alicia's as well. Um, how long would you wait on a guy? So let's say there's a guy you're interested in, but maybe he's in this similar situation. And I know what you just said about being patient with a guy, but for you, I mean, is there as a woman, do you think there should be a sort of timeline when you have a guy who's maybe saying a lot what he wants to do, but he's not producing or whatnot? Do you think as a woman that there should be a limit? Just like, all right, you said you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you're still on the couch, or you're not moving. I mean, because I want to be fair. I want to really see from a woman's perspective. you're gonna, we talk about ride or die, but I'm realistic enough
Mhm.
to know that there's some limits to that.
Mhm.
So how far would you ride with a guy before saying, look, it doesn't look like you're going to get your stuff together in a timely fashion? I mean, how long are you willing to stay in there? So talk about your dad, um, as
Mhm.
far as that, and obviously you weren't there at the beginning, you weren't born yet, but from what you saw
Mhm.
growing up, contrast that to the story of how he went doggedly after her to where
Mhm.
to where it wound up, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Before my father, this is my mom told me about this story. My father told me this story. There was a time that my father after her, and my father say, "Oh, I want to say, oh, you want to kiss me?" And then my mom put her hand out here, kiss my hand. I was laughing at the story. I said
Mm,
that was ridiculous. And she say to him, I say, I don't want to live here. I want to come to America with you. And that's what his ultimate goal was, to bring her to America, because he was living in work in Austria, saving some money. Then he was in America for months, but then usually you find somebody overseas before coming settle in the States, because he can't find somebody that's traditional here in the States. So he finds there, and my mom's friend suggested him. So, and apparently he wants her. He didn't want anybody else. My mom's kind of stand out, like she was, I don't, like not like she's not that, like she's like kind of, I don't know how to explain. She's very genuine. She's very special. She didn't want to be. She didn't see herself living where she's, in her old country. Want to just leave because she knows there's not gonna be no future.
mhm,
And apparently, she decided, okay, I want to, she said, I want to come to America with you. I don't want to live here. And it just get to the point like, okay, because it's almost like, you just want to take that chance, even though her sister disapproved. She didn't care. She decided, okay, this is not this is there's no life in here. I don't see no future here. So she, they got married, and then they came to United States. Of course, they have a big wedding up at my father. But apparently her sisters were not never attended the wedding. So I know, which I didn't know that, but after years later, I find out about, I was what's going on, and I know my father basically wanted her. They didn't want anybody else.
mhm.
So.
Yeah, so again, um that kind of passion. I think I'm just hearing there's
Mhm.
a lot of things at play here. One, his passion for her,
Mhm.
her desire to leave, I guess, the country that she was in,
Mhm.
the plan that he was on, like you said, he was saving up, he was doing certain. It just seems like there were a lot of things that were cooking
Mhm.
early on where I could see how this could work because these things were in motion.
Mhm.
But would you say that their latter years were they still happy together after a time, or did it become like, because part of the show tonight is about leveling up? Like, so
Mhm.
how does love sustain itself over time? Like that passion that brought
Mhm.
your parents together despite the obstacles, and now you
Mhm.
are here in the United States, which I'm thinking is a
Mhm.
better environment and everything. But do you think that
Mhm.
that love that they had for each other or whatever? Do you think that was sustained over time, or did it wane, or why do you think it may have waned in the latter years?
Um, it was. I will say, once they got married, it was like a coaster ride. I will say. Um, of course, you know, say it was the marriage. It was a little bit here and there. Once I was born, of course, it was a struggle, and then after me, 1 year later, my sister. Then I think 3 or 4 years later, then my other sister was born. So yeah, it was kind of, was a handful because my father was constantly working. He was not home most of the time. My mom was, taking care of the kids. But it was, too much to handle. Since it was too much for her, she had to get like social worker, case, taker, to help her out in order to, to help, take care of the kids, because it's, you need more than, I will say, two hands to take care of the household, the cleaning, the chores and everything. So I mean, it was like a, I would say, for the marriage, because I know that was a lot. There were times I had to observe, there were arguments. There are times she was not to argue right in front of the kids in her language. It was it wasn't easy, I will say. Definitely
Hmm.
wasn't easy. With that, I mean, and of course they were young. I mean, you learn when you're young. What can like my father had a lot to learn, and my mom had a lot to learn. It was, because they were married, and it was, I would say, it was overwhelming, too much, and sometimes, you know, my father had to vent and talk to his, his parents about it. But too much getting, I mean, I understand, sometimes the marriage will be like downfall. I know that he had passion for her, but it just kind of, it was like up and down, up and down.
Hmm.
Like they were good, there was good, they were okay at times, and they were okay, not okay. So it's like,
Hmm.
you know it was, hard, I will say, from from observing. Sometimes I didn't want to see them argue, and I had to, walk out of the room. Like if
Hmm.
it's, especially when it's dinner time, they didn't, like, I don't know, it's, sometimes I could tell he's very stressed, because I think it was mostly financial issues, and I know time was not that easy either.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And oh, and just the last point, and again, maybe Alicia, she can get into on this. So, I mean, the video's taught about, again, the guy basically being kind of stagnant where he was, and then the woman kind of, basically stepped out. But how much patience, just as a woman, how much patience do you think a woman should have for a guy to get his stuff together?
I had
Um,
I have too
go ahead.
much patience. This was
Mm,
exactly a story of me and my ex-husband, and I just kept giving him chance after chance, trying to hold our marriage together. Um, and as after all of that he went through, I vowed to never do that again. Um, I just put up with he had a lot of problems holding jobs, and I just put up with, okay, he'll find a decent job. I just gave him chance after chance, trying to just not give up on our marriage, because that's something that I believe that should be worked on. And then we had we did things backwards. We had a child, and as you know, children aren't going to fix things in a marriage. But we had a child. I still held on to him, waiting for change. Come on, hold the job down. Try to get it together for us. That happened, and then we got married. Of course, marriage didn't make it better. Um, I just held on way too long, hoping for this change in him that never came.
mm, no. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's all I had, guys.
Mr. Bennett,
Someone wants to take it. Yeah.
I'm gonna answer your question, right? I'm gonna say 2 years, maximum four, and depending on age, because 2 years is the equivalent of a junior
Hmm.
college. You can have the opportunity to, do certain things to expedite the process. Or 4 years, you can go to within any, I guess, skill, elevate your skill, and also have a few years to practice it, or just go through a 4-year traditional program or the military. I think somebody should at least try to find a avenue, because I assume when we're talking about leveling up, that talks about, you know, through I guess employment and I guess a social emotional growth. But I don't think that's easily done when you're actually with somebody to work on your emotional state. But as far as like if you meet somebody and you want to grow and build, I think it's important to, we have to, well, me, just be realistic about what opportunities are there available, whether it's through traditional school, military, trade school, 2-year school, certifications. I would say 2 years, maximum 4. And I wouldn't spend no more than 4 years in a relationship that's not really going anywhere.
Hmm.
Yes, I
You don't
do.
think that's too long? 4 years? I mean,
Nope, because
you know what I
if
said.
I'm 20,
You know what
if
I
I'm
said
20
earlier.
years old, in 4 years I'll be 24. You can't
Okay,
expect
so
me to jump. I'm just saying, if I'm looking at what it takes for someone to build those skills, no more than 4 years. That's just like going to a full-time college
Hmm.
or military to leapfrog it even faster.
mm. All right. So what if the person's like 30?
30, no more than 2 years. I wouldn't spend as much, no more than 2 years. That's why I said depending on age. 30, like you said, 30, as far as a man is thinking, you should be on your shit. You should be constantly working,
Hmm.
constantly trying to find ways to not just, and to me at that point, it's not just about the job. It's about that social emotional piece too. Making sure that that's balanced, making sure that, what I'm saying, you understand what it takes to have someone else in your life and be a little more willing to share a part of your, your space and sometimes property, but we'll see.
Yeah, I can definitely say mine was way too long. I waited 13 years to try to get this guy to man up and learn how to be a father, a husband. So I definitely waited too long for him.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's the question. I mean, can you? And it really, to me, it boils down to ultimatums. I mean, do ultimatums at the end of the day, or do they ultimately work
No.
when it comes to trying to get somebody to quote unquote level up? I mean, again, if you to me, if you don't have that internal
Hmm.
motivation to say, look, I got a family, I got a wife, I got to be about taking care of them no matter what. I'll take the jobs. Like I know guys who, even though they got families and they got bills and whatnot, there's just certain jobs, for example, that they just absolutely will not
Yeah.
take because they feel that, based on their education or background or whatever, that they need to have a certain type of job, or there's like a self-image that's so tied to their career that they just can't see settling for something, even though it's going to help pay the bills, or they expect the wife to kind of take on a lot of load or whatever, while he's still trying to find the ideal job. I see that with a lot of men. They'll not take the what's required. They'll always hold out because they just think they're going to get that better job. But I've seen, a year out of work, 2 years out of work or whatever, and the bills are piling up, but you won't take I don't know, an Amazon job or a FedEx job or something, like, just to pay the bills until some. That doesn't mean you still can't interview, you can't do certain things. But I've seen with a lot of men, they will intentionally hold out because, again, that
Hmm.
job that they have does not fit their self
Yep.
image,
It's pride and
and
ego.
they'll hold out. Was that?
It's
Yeah,
pride and ego.
and I've seen that break up relationships and marriages also, because you were too prideful not to
Hmm.
take what was there, the low hanging fruit, because you just felt, oh God, especially if you're like kind of like,
That's
I don't
exactly
know,
what
upper
happened.
management or something like that. You just think, no, this job is beneath me.
That's exactly what
And
happened.
your self-image is so
Hmm.
tied to the job, but you're not thinking about the family and what's best for the family. And that's so I'm always saying to people, it's like you do what's required for the relationship rather than your own individual wants and
Yep.
desires. The marriage just should be bigger than that. So if I got to do this for now, if I got to dig ditches or
Hmm.
whatever I got to do, and if it's going to take care of until that door opens up, I know like every time I've been laid off or I've had corporations closing down and stuff. I just did whatever in the meantime. It could be stuff around the house, but I always try to stay productive until that door opened up. I still interviewed. I still was on LinkedIn every day, applying for jobs every day, doing whatever. But I was just not going to sit still and just just wait for the phone to ring. I think you have to, sometimes it's a humbling experience, but I think you got to put yourself in that position. So again, but that's me though. I mean, so someone else, but if a person doesn't have that, I don't think love's not going to
No.
be enough because at the end of the day, you got to love yourself, and again, you got to love those around you to do those things, even when you don't want to do them. But it's necessary, and like Coach was saying, I think
Yes.
especially with guys, I've seen a lot of guys too prideful to make those changes.
Yeah. Love, child, marriage. It wasn't enough.
But it's
It
also,
just wasn't enough.
and Brother Bennett, it's also a part of, I guess would say, next gen training is, right? At some point, yeah, well, again, every man's journey is different through life, but we all, I believe, most want a successful life, whatever level of success that is. And that's where it gets sort of gray. I'm using shell names, right? That's where it gets gray for a lot of men too, because once they're out on an island by themselves, maybe you grow up, you say I'm gonna step out on my own. You in those spaces. A lot of men don't get that emotional peace. They don't,
Mhm.
Right.
instead of connecting to someone like you, Brother Bennett, who's always going to hold them accountable, right? That's too difficult. I'd rather just sit over here, me and Peter, just play our games, hang out, not do too much. I'm just using you as an example. And me really working on myself, nobody's really giving me the confidence. And it's easier to be over here in this little corner. So I think that's where, as men, that's something that a lot of men fight with, believing that they're less than. But again, I believe some work is better than no work.
Yeah.
If you got to shovel snow, whatever it is, I think you can always find something um, if you have that
Even
mindset.
Uber,
So
for God's sake.
I don't
You
have
know,
a car. I don't have a car.
okay, Uber Eats, you can do it by foot. You don't need a car.
By foot, I live 3 miles from the closest restaurant.
But what my point is trying to get to, you can find some type of work somehow, some way.
Yeah,
It's not.
yeah.
It's not up to your standard. It's temporarily. Do you find something better?
Yes. I mean, I was just playing devil's advocate. I agree with that because if I say I want to work and when Alicia leaves out to work at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I haven't even rolled out of bed and she gets home and I'm in the same position she was, listen, and this is where I think having a good, solid man in your family, you can realize and distinguish like, this dude ain't about shit. He said that all week.
Mm-hmm.
He made a phone call. I
Mm-hmm.
tried to help him with a resume. I
Mm-hmm.
even hooked him up with my uncle or somebody who said he can come out
Mm-hmm.
and work tomorrow. I think that's where, for women, it gets gray because once they start having physical contact with a man and he's all in their head, in their ear, they might get lost in that for 5 or 6 years before they realize, oh no, it's the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again,
Yes.
So we're coming close to the end of the show. Let's start getting our final thoughts and let's start closing out. Coach, you want to go first, please?
as always, man, you you bring us in these positions, man, to have these thoughtful conversations. And it's always a good conversation to have, man. I use them to, you know, take to the world when I'm having conversations with people outside. Yeah, I use these things when I meet young people, old people. I'm definitely going to be tapping into some young minds real soon, just on, excuse me, being better people, being a helpful person, being a person that's willing to dedicate some time and energy to being the best version of themselves, working hard, whether it's in school, at home, or in the community. So yeah, it's always good. And this picture right here, man, I don't know, that was about 2006 or so, about 19 years ago, before I let everybody stress me out. But yeah, good show, man.
As Coach Fur was showing off his young picture again, looking all GQ as usual. Well, this was a not so easy topic for me to deal with. I may sound jaded, but I don't take the work so lightly. It's need a conversation to see both sides of the angle. And reflecting Mr. Bennett, being in a relationship such as mine for that acrimony is not work. It's called dedication. It's called consistency. It's called having the desire to be a part of something bigger than yourself. I believe that's what it is. But in today's time, people make it so cheap. So that's why I'm just, I mean, sound brutal, but I prefer honesty. Great subject, great topic. Maybe I might get some different answer as time progresses. I don't know. But for me, this is Black David, aka Bear Paw. I ain't know Groot. Groot got a heart, but Bear Paw got no mercy. So that being said, here's what it is.
First, I want to say to David, um, and again, I go back to we did a show and someone else was talking, and your daughter came in the background. And again, I saw your interaction with your daughter and her interaction with you. I think I know you say you sound kind of jaded, but I just see so much love that's in you um, that you want to share and that you have the capacity to. So as far as the talk saying, you're kind of jaded on level with it, I don't believe that, because I just think you have this amazing capacity to connect, and you love hard, and that's probably why love is so difficult for you to allow yourself um to allow yourself to be vulnerable like that, because again, you love those who are that you're close to like that. You're you really express it in so many different ways. So I do hope that your heart doesn't get so hardened and turned off, because it's clearly in you. So I just hope that your heart remains soft, especially for those who you are close to, and that they continue to receive the love that you give. So I just wanted to put that in your spirit, and encourage you to continue to always choose love over fear or bitterness or anything else, because it's in you to give still. And just want you to always remember that. But as far as the topic tonight, the idea of leveling up to love, I think that a lot of that comes from one. I think it comes from self love. Do you love yourself enough to do those things that are required for your advancement and for your improvement, and always be curious about the world that you're in, wanting to learn and embrace new challenges in life? I think that comes from a sense of self love. And that could be, we didn't really touch on it a lot tonight, but that could be the reason why a lot of times these relationships don't work, especially when the stresses come. Do you love yourself enough to go and do those things for yourself? And then you could be a better benefit to those who are around you. But at the end of the day, um, certainly, uh, ultimately, love, I don't think changes. I think situations change, like I said, but I think love is about adaptation, but it's constantly asking the question to the person that you're with to say, "Look, are we good? What do you need?" Um, and I think just having that sensitivity and not getting so into everything else that you forget about seeing those changes in season, kids, no kids, empty nester, grandkids, whatever. I think, how do you maintain love is again just staying connected and asking those questions and being sensitive to that, and not letting think as Mariana was saying earlier, sometimes the stresses of trying to support a large family and business and all those other things, they can certainly get in the way of you being able to see and recognize what your partner needs. And I hope that people will always stay sensitive, um, and let your partner know, look, I'm in this season, I may need to be loved differently. And then that also is a responsibility of that person. You need to communicate how you need to be loved, and that person then has the ask themselves, am I capable of doing that? But true love is going to be like, again, what do you need from me? And you do your best to try to accommodate that. Be patient to allow that person um, to work some things out. They may not get that love right away, but as long as they keep trying and as long as you guys keep communicating what your needs are, then I think you'll be in a much better position. So I know I long stroked that, but that's all I got.
I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning of the show. For as far as leveling up, I think that communication is so important. Without that, then you really can't go further. Along with being there for your partner being there for you, no selfishness. Like you're there for one another through each stage of your relationship, your marriage, rocks, like when you're on rocky roads, when you're having good times, just being there for each other no matter what. And I just feel like that it's so hard today to find that. Um, Again, it's along with what Mr. Bennett said, Paul. It's more than that too. I feel like there is the extra respect, trust, honesty. It all comes together. So in order to level up, you need all those things. Without them, it's hard for marriages or relationships, dating, anything to move forward.
Well, this is a interesting topic we talk about. I know a bit late to the show. Do apologize. Um, this yeah, up is basically all levels to help each other, respect each other, and key thing is communicate and help each other. If one falls, the other one picks up. Um, you have to basically, life will be whenever you guys, whenever a couple are trying to achieve something, you have to go through struggles. Um, no matter what it is, you always have to have faith in order to achieve. Sometimes if you don't want that, then it's that individual's lost. That's unfortunate. That's how life is. But um yeah, patience is a virtue. Unfortunately, some don't want to wait. But I would say to be with that, you had to go through struggles. And I know sometimes in order to get that, it's sometimes you go through that struggle in order to get to achieve that, whatever it is, in life you want to reach. If sometimes you have to go through that in order to achieve that. But that's all I could say right now.
All right, guys, thank you for all you guys coming up and giving me your opinions. So let's do a quick schedule update and let's get the heck out of here. So for tomorrow, comic book versus manga. Good luck, you're gonna need it. And and Coach and Paul will be back on Thursday with Training X. Paul, remind me what the show is about again.
Okay, so it's going to be about job seeking and applying for work or applying for filling out a job application. So
Was it networking for?
no,
Okay.
no, networking is going to be a few shows down.
Yeah.
So the next 3 shows, first was going to be about finding jobs. The next show is going to be on the resume and cover letter writing. The next show after that is going to be on the interviewing process, getting prepared for the interview. And then the next set of shows, so we're talking about probably November, is when we get into the network.
Cool.
Make sure you send me that list tonight, please.
I'm doing it now.
And Friday we'll be back with Sean, and we're looking forward to that show because last week was a very good show. And on Saturday, we're going to be talking about. Paul, you ready for this one? You're going to like this one. You ready?
Okay.
What if Luke Skywalker joined the dark side?
All right. Yeah, that's
going to be a fun episode. And we're going to have Steve. Steve is on our show on the Gray Area as a guest. He's known from the Dane C Network. He left that network. He was a teacher at one time, then a YouTuber, then now he's, I believe he said, if I remember correctly, trying to think what he did right now. Social media financial, I believe he said, if I remember correctly. But very fascinating guy, very nice guy, very cool guy. I spoke to him a couple of times. I can't say anything bad about him. I wish I did. That's how nice he is. Except that, any final words, guys, before we go? All right, guys, as always, this was the Spartan Entertainer. I am the Spartan. He is Coach Ferg. He's Baby Crew, Mr. President, Alicia, and Mariana. As always, stay fresh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.